All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Jason Leaf. I am a professor at Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa, but I also work as a mobilizer for the National Immigration Forum and the Bible's Badges and Business. And we are here as part of Students of Welcome, our first Students of Welcome webinar. We hope to have these monthly, and this is a way to try to get college students and college campuses engaged on the topic of immigration and just being a part of that conversation and trying to set a good tone for that conversation and maybe even change some of the rhetoric around immigrants and refugees. I'm going to hand it over to Tanner Smith, who is an intern at the Forum. I'll let him introduce himself, and he'll also introduce Jonathan. I also want to give a shout out to Andrea, who is helping us out, and maybe we'll keep an eye too on some of the comments if there are any, and any questions towards the end. And we'll try to leave some time at the end maybe for some questions. But Tanner, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jason, for helping me out through this, and Andrea for helping us get this off the ground. And thank you, Jonathan, for being here. Yeah, I'm a field and constituencies intern with the forum, and I'm here to give resources for any students interested in joining the Students Welcome movement, where we're trying to reshape the conversation around immigration on your campus. So please reach out to us, and we'll give information in the chat, and then at the end on how to join us and how you can get connected with us and others. And I'm here first with Jonathan Moya, who is the executive director and founder of Border Perspective. Thanks, Jonathan, for being here. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what Border Perspective is?
Of course, thank you all so much. Thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be with you all in such a timely conversation to engage with as we continue to see just policy change all around us. So, like you, Tanner mentioned, my name is Jonathan Moya. And I live full time in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I'm a byproduct of a binational, bicultural, and bilingual area, which is the U.S. and Mexico border, specifically in the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. And so I get to lead Border Perspective, and we exist to equip, educate, and mobilize specifically people of faith on service learning experiences at the U.S. and Mexico border. And so delighted to be with you all and engage this conversation, specifically engaging the next generation and the current and the just next generation. Really excited about it.
Thank you. So just jumping into the first question, you mentioned a little bit about what you do at the southern border. So how did you get involved in your personal life with ministry at the southern border?
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I often share with people about the work that we do at the border is that it's not just a choice that we had to engage immigration, but actually we're engaging this work because it is part of our life. Immigration is a part of our DNA. My parents in the early 1990s came to South Texas. And it really their journey was being tasked with um, to come and learn from the American church so that they can strengthen the ministries that were happening on the Mexican side of the border. And so at that time, I was 6 years old and I did not speak English. It was a new face of a new country, a new place. And in growing up in this area, I really came to the understanding that it was such a different area, such a complex area than the rest of the country. I didn't realize it when I was younger, but it really shaped my worldview, my perspective, the way I see people. And because my family's immigration story is so connected to this region, as I grew older, and really wanted to find a focus and a way to put myself to something that really mattered. It was something that I was challenged by, and really because immigration was a part of my story and where I've witnessed struggle, I've witnessed at the same time resilience by the people that were around us, our families, our friends. In 2017, I, with my brother Jordan, launched a border journey trip along the U.S. and Mexico border, and we traveled in 9 days through the state of Texas, um, and New Mexico, Arizona, and California. And this led me to realize that often the border is reflected upon as very generally speaking, but different regions of the border have so many complexities, similarities, and challenges at the same time. And so, never did I anticipate that Border Perspective was going to grow into what it is now, 8 years later, in helping equip, educate, and mobilize people into just understanding this conversation better. But in a lot of ways, we found that the border was a framework and it gave us a structure, because it had it for us it was a place of a mission of hospitality and discipleship. And so, um, it's it's kind of an interesting thing that this journey has now led into the line of work that we full-time focus on now.
It's amazing. Thank you. And kind of like being in that area and traveling to the areas where it's like you you can't even ignore, there's no possibility to ignore the effect that policy and political climate has on immigration and the people around you. How do you feel like the current political climate has changed both the work you do and then just the people that you're around?
One of the things that really challenged me back in, I would say, from 2015 to 2017. Obviously, this is many years ago. Some of you, especially if you're a college student, you're probably, I don't know, in middle school, maybe at that point, or maybe still in elementary. But I realized, especially being a byproduct of this binational region, and then living in the Midwest, I realized that a lot of people had questions about the border, right? And so I would openly want to share with them. I would want to share about my home, the culture, the music, the food, right? These things that make up the place that we call home. And oftentimes these places are full of, I call them just full of beauty. But yet, one of the things that was really challenging for me was that when people engaged me in conversations about the border, they actually were more interested in just my politics. And if we try to understand the last cycles of just administrations, and um, I think we have seen how immigration has become so politicized, um, in a lot of ways, often misrepresenting and this place that, for me, like I mentioned, this is my home. And so oftentimes it's misunderstood, misrepresented, and across the nation, it has led to a lot of fear, a lot of division. And so I think for us, as we engage this work, is how do we actually try to give people a reality of a climate that is, I would say, oftentimes the extreme opposite of what we're hearing nationally, because most people across the nation only know the border region from the headlines and from the media. But when you bring people into proximity into these places, this geographical area, the people that live here, immigrant leaders, it completely wakes you up to a different reality. And so proximity has the power to do that, especially when we focus on faithful presence of local leaders and not so much the politics. When we focus on what does it mean to love our neighbor with dignity and presence? What does it mean to engage political conversations, but through solutions rather than just, um, incorrect information. And so the political climate shapes in a great way, and has shaped the understanding of the border. And so what we're trying to do is how do we give people a better context of what that looks like?
Mhm. Thank you. And so it sounds like a big way of how you're changing their perspective is just bringing them there, showing them the people around, showing that when in the media it might be a more of a us them mentality on both sides, that there's more of a compassionate way to look at things. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure. One of the things is we're trying to change narratives, right? We're trying to change understanding, and we do this by engaging something that we call a service learning model or service learning approach. And as you all are college and university, this is an educational model. This is an educational approach, and so we're trying to bridge this model into politics and missions and ministry and immersion. And so we say that we want to learn with communities, not just learn about them. We do this by really sharing and walking with real people, their real stories, their hardships. We want to engage people and really break the stereotypes that they're known by. And so oftentimes that happens when you set a table and you share a meal together. It really happens again in that proximity. For us, especially working within the church space, we also often highlight biblical hospitality. What does that look like, especially for people who have influence over congregations or, say, institutions? There's true heroic biblical figures, and the reality is that this theme of migration is woven all throughout scripture and the Bible. And so, but yet specifically with Christian leaders, oftentimes, again, it's the media that's guiding, right, our perspective and not so much scripture. So we really encourage people to see our immigrants not just as a conversation or a topic, but as people, as our neighbors, as image bearers of God who have value and dignity, just because we're human beings, right? And so that doesn't matter your background, your context, your color. It's like that actually makes us closer than we actually think we are.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you. And through that of like trying to change the way people understand about the issues around immigration and the border and then bringing them there, is there any moments that you remember were impactful on seeing people's perspectives change in real time?
Oh, completely, completely, all the time. We definitely are witnesses of transformation through proximity in real time. We are witnesses that proximity changes everything. Really, those personal encounters are in real time shifting people's perspectives. Because oftentimes people think about the border just from this political point of view, but the border is much more than that. It's a place of families, of faith, communities, resilience, and it kind of helps transform the conversation from abstract debates into real human stories. And so there's been comments where as we post different people, I recall a story of someone who came to South Texas with us, and they were from the Atlanta area, from Atlanta, Georgia. And he said this phrase, "I feel like I've been lied to all my life," reflecting on his own understanding of what he thought the border was like, but yet being there just for a few days with us and seeing and witnessing that reality, it actually led him to deeper compassion and and also to wrestle with what he thought was true, but yet he's walking right these roads with us. He's eating the meals with us. He's in our spaces. And so um I like to share with a lot of folks that our goal at Border Perspective is not necessarily to change someone's mind or even their heart. We just get to set the table. And we get to set the table and invite them into proximity for them to witness life every day. I often tell people, I think the border sometimes it's highlighted in whether it's documentaries or the media as this kind of deserted place, but we actually have Starbucks in one corner, but also a taqueria on the next corner, right? It's very much both and not just one or the other. And so there's actually the border is full and vibrant and of life and beauty and resilience and also hardship, just like many other places around our country are. And so, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering those questions. So kind of switching gears, I know you do work with students at Border Perspective, and then the Students of Welcome is focused on being student-led and
Yeah.
working on campuses. So, how can college students get involved with the work that you do?
Yeah, for sure. I love this question. And over the last several years, it's been several hundred people that we work with, and a majority, a high percentage of that are students. It's either high school or young adults that are in university and college. And so at Border Perspective, we have some very practical, tangible ways that students can get involved, whether it's through internship. Sometimes they come on what we call service learning trips to the border. And what happens here is they get to serve alongside ministries, alongside churches, alongside organizations that are doing transformative work long term in their community, and organizations that are faithfully being present regardless of the politics, right, that's happening around us. And so one of the things that I love about our opportunity to work with students is that there's leadership development programs that are available that really can help shape our spiritual but also our practical growth, right? And so we really, again, this service learning model allows students that are willing to listen, learn, and serve to grow and develop a broader view of this region that that in a lot of ways again is often misrepresented and miscategorized.
That's awesome. And when you're working with college students, how do you think they, as students living in a place where they're living amongst other people with so many different ideas and coming from so many different places, can engage with the issues related to immigration on their campus and also in their communities?
One of the things that we do at Border Perspective is that our team, right, we set up a whole week of service and learning opportunities, whether that's serving at a local soup kitchen, working at a local church, or meeting with, say, Border Patrol agents to hear about the law enforcement perspective. We do that as well. But one of the things that excites us the most is that our experiences specifically have a beginning and an ending point to it. But wherever we are planted, that's where we see the greatest opportunity. And so how do we challenge students or encourage them to engage this the same thing that we're doing at the border also at home? So we ask, practically speaking, we have guides that help people learn, that suggest books, reading, to hear stories of immigrants through through media, podcast, audio, whatever that is. We also ask students to look around their communities and what is shaping their communities. Are there local immigrant ministries? Are there ESL programs? Are there ways that you can get involved and partner together? Is Are there ways to create dialogue, just even with other students who might care about a similar issue, a certain people group, a certain situation that's happening around where you were planted? Oftentimes, we feel that this will shift that narrative from just politics to people, because if we put ourselves in places where we can hear, learn, be in proximity to the need, and we can maybe just in a very small way be a part of that solution. um, I think that will definitely, really impact us and shift the narrative that we're used to. Um, Practically speaking, we encourage students to practice hospitality daily. That's just through building friendships, particularly as well. How do we speak on behalf of those who don't? Oftentimes we do that through, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but just direct people to what are the advocacy opportunities out there where, as a young student, you can add your voice to a larger movement that hopefully will bring about change. And then ultimately, because we are an organization that works in the faith space, is prayer. Really, I think for a lot of us, regardless of where we are, is how do we position ourselves in a way that our hearts will be open to something maybe that for many of us is foreign. I mean, literally, right? People from different ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, stepping to places that we're not comfortable in. But even just beginning with that, how do we position ourselves so that we can enter these spaces to learn and be challenged and walk with people?
That's awesome. And it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for students to get involved in or people to go to. So, what would be your advice to a college student who wants to get involved but might not know who to go to or where to start?
Yeah, this is a great lead up from that last question. Again, I would say begin with checking your heart, right? Okay, why do I want to engage something like this? Why do I want to be in proximity with other people who might be wrestling with a different reality than I am? I would say um, just ask ourselves, okay, how do we need to open our hearts? How do we need to open our minds? Are there opportunities for us to be in proximity? What does that look like? Are there opportunities to volunteer with different organizations, with churches, with nonprofits? Our country is extremely diverse. In case you didn't know that, and more than not, I mean, we have a directory, for example, with about 500 different organizations all across the country that are looking for volunteers because they are in the immigration refugee space. This will be a great link that I'll share with you all so y'all can, use it as a resource. So, as students, we're very, very comfortable using our phones. It's easy to Google, even if we don't know somebody directly somewhere. Let's just Google what are those opportunities around us. And I heard somebody say, well, I just ask the chat, ask AI. I'm sure AI will point you somewhere. Hopefully, it's somewhere really good. Um, again, but oftentimes, kind of rewinding is how do we take those small steps? Are there students that we go to class with that are in our dorm, that are in our school, who are international students? Um, are there students who are here we know because they're on DACA? Are there students maybe through tutoring opportunities? When I was in college, I tutored Spanish, and people were often interested in like, well, how did you become bilingual? And then that allowed me to open up about even just further immigration story. I would say because this is a huge thing of mine is oftentimes it's just sharing your story and listening to the story of others. Um, Really, our call to love the stranger and our neighbor, I think will happen best when you genuinely take interest in one another's story. And then the encouragement that I'll leave you with as a college student is faithful presence starts right where you are. Yes, for example, our work, we bring people down to the border, and that's one path to get engaged, to get involved. Now, do I want every student across the country to do that? I believe it will be extremely impactful. It can be transformative, but I know that it's unrealistic, right? So, how do you start where you are? Faithful presence, something that we talk about. What are those opportunities for me to be engaged where I am? Because I truly believe that it is a divine time for all of us where we are. Because one of the things that we realized last week, I was in a session with Border Patrol, and over the last year in the Rio Grande Valley, over 150 different people who were migrating crossed the southern Texas border. I think there's only about 193 sovereign countries in the world, I believe, something like that. Over 150 different people from different nations. Think about that. I mean, the world is coming through, is in our country. So, what are these tangible, practical things that we can do? And I'll tell you, if you start asking for that, I'm sure you'll find some things around you that are practical ways to get engaged.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for answering all those questions. Um, that was all the questions I had. I'd like to open it up for anybody who has Q&A for either about Students of Welcome or Jonathan and his work. And while I wait for questions to come in, I might just give a little bit more of an explanation of what Students of Welcome is. If you have any more interest in Jonathan and what he does over at Border Perspective, I think you can find more information at borderperspective.org if I got that correct.
Yes.
And we'll also be putting links in for anybody something that we reference in the chat. So what we're doing at Students of Welcome is we're starting chapters at different universities where students can get involved in reshaping the conversation of immigration on your campus and get connected to all other student leaders that are doing that around the nation. So I'm Tanner with the National Immigration Forum. I'm at Kent State University in Ohio. And we've also had 4 chapters last year and then are expecting 8 more to come in and building chapters all across the United States. And we're looking for student leaders to get involved. And this can look like anything from hosting events and getting in contact with us on your campus, or whether that be something from a speaker coming in and talking or film screenings. It could be forums. You could have volunteer service in the communities like ESL Learning. It could be social media outreach and campaigns. And really what we're trying to do is just get the conversation started with students all across America and looking at what are students' perspectives on immigration, what are your feelings around that, and obviously a lot of students want to see change in immigration policy. So what we're looking is for people to take initiative on your campus and get in contact with us to start setting up events, start reaching out to people in the community, and offering different ways to connect with people, understand U.S. immigration policy, and host like service and advocacy opportunities across the communities. So what
If I
I am going to put in,
can, Tanner, if I can add to that, one of the best places I think some of these colleges could start if they're looking for someone to come to campus and talk about immigration is Jonathan, assuming he has the time and so on. He's been to Northwestern a couple of times, I think. And one time you brought with you your was it what do you call it? Portable border. Uh,
Border exhibit. Yeah.
yeah, border exhibit, which was a great experience, and we had a number of students come to that, and it was pretty powerful. So Jonathan's a great speaker and connects well with college students, so that'd be a great place to start.
We found that there's many different ways of entry points for different students and even just people, right? And so some people will, yes, they want to listen to a speaker, but with this 15 series of stories that are visual, we found that an art exhibit could be an entry point for people. Jason, we did also a documentary screening at one point, and then we did a panel, right? So it's just like multimedia multi-messaging in a lot of ways, but there are resources out there, especially for students to engage this conversation in a way that doesn't feel daunting, maybe, that and resources that we can connect them to in different ways. So
thank you. Yeah, and so we put a couple links in the chat. So look at that. And ultimately, what we're here to do is help you because obviously, if you're with us right now or watching this, then you want to get involved in changing immigration policy and joining the conversation. And what we're here to do is give you people like Jonathan and different connections where these are people that have gained lots of experience and can help you on your journey on your campus. So if you want to get involved, we have a 3-level system where you can simply start by just sparking a dialogue on campus and signing on to the immigration principles we have if that's what resonates with you. And you can start, contacting other students around the nation that are involved in the same thing and getting events scheduled on your campus, bringing in people. We can connect you with anybody in our organization and leading the way to try to be a student leader in your community and on your campus. So, yeah. Jason, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I think it's great, Jonathan. It's always a pleasure to be with you and hear you talk, and we'll see each other in a couple weeks down in Nashville. So
Nashville.
really appreciate you taking the time. And Tanner, you did a great job. So that's all I got.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I think yeah, this is a vital and important thing to do, and especially as college students are continuing to shape the narrative. And there's a huge yeah, I think a huge opportunity before us. And so thanks for considering me, being a part of this, and continue to do the great work y'all are doing in your campus and in your organizations.
thank you so much for being here.
Yep. Thanks. See you, everyone.